Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Imperfect Momming, and we have a very special guest today, Kate Dell. Welcome to Imperfect Momming.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Kate Dell. I used to be a music teacher, and then I kind of broke out on my own to start my own business. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to connect with people, it really came down to when I realized that we tend to lose ourselves as moms in like our day-to-day thing. We get swept up in all kinds of different stuff. So it's easy to lose ourselves in that and lose our voices in that. So I've been there, I'm guilty of it. And we all kind of need someone to connect with when we're going through that. So I've created a plan to kind of help us connect back to our own voices. And I do that through music, through children's books, through online courses, a number of things, but it all kind of centers around finding your voice so you can feel empowered to share it with other people.
Now, you have a relatively new baby, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, she's
months?
9 months.
Okay. So
She's
it's been a
9
minute.
months. Yeah.
I'm very proud of myself that I remembered because I don't remember people's details.
Oh yeah. You're doing great.
No, I love that. Music has always been something that's touched me. I remember being 4 years old and I didn't want to be a singer. I wanted to be Amy Grant.
Oh yeah. Who
But
doesn't want to be Amy?
right, I grew up like loving her, and she had I didn't even know the name of my favorite song. It was the Pink song because she wore a pink outfit in a live concert that was televised. And I couldn't tell you the name of that song. I think it was Love of Another Kind. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome.
But music has just always been a part of me and who I am and what touches my soul. And my son is 10 and he's in band this year and learning to play the drums.
Oh yeah, your house is a good time.
Yeah. So I was digging through his backpack looking for his book that he's supposed to be reading, and I found a little drum thing that he's supposed to practice with. I don't know what they're called. I was like, what is this thing? And he goes, oh, I'm supposed to practice the drums on that. I was like, then you should be practicing the drums. Like, what are you doing? How come this is the first time seeing it?
It's a nice quiet way to practice the drums.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's just got generations of music on both sides, and I just think that that's the coolest thing. And now it's like super easy to create your own music on I think it's on Roblox or something that he's playing, and he has perfect pitch, and my mom always said she had perfect pitch. I never, I have no idea, but and I'm not going to sing for you. Maybe if you, after I'm done being pregnant, you can get me drunk and we'll see. If you have enough comments on this video, then I'll do it.
Right.
But was having your daughter part of that transition of wanting to kind of figure out your business? Was that a big
Yeah, I was in a school for 3 years, like just general music, K through 8. And then I've always been working kind of as a paraprofessional in local schools around, like going to do their choirs or going to help with their drama programs or music directing shows and things like that. And I knew that I loved doing all those extracurricular things, but I knew that I wanted to do something a little different for like my daily, which, getting out of the 8 to 3, whatever school day was really imperative for me to do that. So I knew when I had her that I wanted to do that. I knew moving into having her that I wanted to do that. So he just gave me the time to just kind of solidify what I wanted to do and how I wanted to share what I know that I love and how I share my passion. And it's it was difficult because I do a lot of different stuff. So when people would ask me what I do, I never knew how to answer the question because it was just like, well, I do a little bit of this and I do this and I wrote a book over the pandemic and I did this and it was just like, okay, well, how do I combine all these things? And I think when I had her, it just kind of clicked.
Mhm.
I don't know. It was really very cool. It was like she got here and I was like, oh yeah, this is what I need to be doing now.
Mhm.
So it was pretty awesome. And it, allows us all the flexibility that we have and can take to be home and do mom and do work and, still feel fulfilled both ways, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I think that the pandemic has really shifted because
Mm,
maybe because there's so many more work from home opportunities,
yeah,
that
definitely.
it's really shifted the mindset of moms. Like, well, I was doing it for the last two years. Why not,
Hmm.
you know, be home
Yeah.
with my kids? And then if the job that they had went back, there we're being
Hmm.
very creative in like how we can make that not happen, or, how we
Yeah.
can change that, right?
Yeah. As much devastation as it brought, it really did open up those kind of avenues for us to explore and allow us to be a little bit more lenient in the way that we go to work and the way that we function and look at work. It's kind of gives us a little bit more leeway, which I think is a positive thing that's come out of it. So,
Yeah. I really did the whole time focus on kind of the positive things that were coming out of it. And I kind of do that with everything. Like I try to focus on the positive of things,
yeah.
but at the same time, I know that there wasn't huge, massive devastation in my life.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like there has been in other people. So I don't want to
Sure.
discount that either, but I've always
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed the pandemic because I was working from home and my son was with me and I got to learn a lot of things about he and I and how we work together and parent and teaching him and really having
Yeah.
appreciation for the teachers on a whole nother level.
Yes, definitely. They're rock stars.
Really are. And I mean, I came from a family of teachers anyway, so
Yeah.
I always felt gratitude towards, I know how hard teachers work,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it irritates me when people say otherwise. And
Right.
so we won't go down that rabbit hole though. So you said that you kind of lost yourself inside
Mm,
becoming a mom, and tell
mm.
me a little bit about your experience, because I know that there's going to be some listeners that resonate with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I weirdly enough, after I had her, is when I started to kind of come back around to myself. It was mainly during the time that I was pregnant that I really got lost in the anxiety spirals of just kind of like, well, one, don't go out of your house, don't get sick, you can't see anybody, you don't have a support system. Google is a trap and you can go down for hours and hours and find things. And it was a tough go. And at the end, things started to kind of spike up again. So I basically was in my house for like 2 months by myself and the only person I've been. So it was kind of just like very isolating. And I just had this desire to want to connect with people and kind of connect with them through things that I love. So and it wasn't until after, when I was on the other side and kind of just back down from everything, getting out of postpartum, getting out of all of those things, that I realized, okay, well, this is how I want to do it. But it does become a very isolating thing at times if you let it. And it's really difficult. So people go through, a bunch of different news when they're pregnant or postpartum and everything. So it's just, you have to really kind of navigate yourself through that the best way that you can. And it's different for everybody.
Absolutely. And I didn't experience, and I don't think I've really talked to anybody who's experienced what you just explained during pregnancy, where it's typically, but you were pregnant during the pandemic. So you didn't want to get sick. You probably didn't want to get COVID. You didn't have, like you said, you didn't have the support system. And that's usually a fear or something that moms deal with postpartum.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to me because I find stuff like that.
My mom and I always joke that like I had prepartum, like I went through all the stuff pre having her, and not having her didn't have it, the learning curves, and the bulk of it was when I was pregnant. So it's interesting to me too, and finding anybody out there who's even remotely similar to me in that fact. Thank God I'm not the only one. So yeah.
The closest story I could tell you is I know someone that had essentially postpartum depression while she was pregnant. And she was very not excited about baby number 3. It was not part of the plan. 2 was feeling overwhelming, I think, at the time. And then her babies were, each of them 18, 19 months apart, something like that. Right. So she'd have a 9-month-old and find out she's pregnant, and then have a 9-month-old and find out she's pregnant again.
Wow.
And, just having really dark thoughts during her pregnancy, and going to counseling to, keep it in check and whatnot. And then as soon as her daughter was born, it was like she bounced back, like it was totally fine. And just like your experience, and her daughter is like the perfect angel child, like God had mercy on her. And I mean, both mom and dad would agree. And I'm specifically not saying who they are, because I would never want this child or her siblings to hear how her parents view her and not the other 2.
Right.
I always considered myself really blessed, because before I was pregnant, I had already started working from home or working for myself. And I had a support system, and I never felt lost inside. Like I never lost my identity inside being a mom. I say that, and then literally the next thought is, yeah, but remember how when you thought you were a bad mom and you lost everything that you were felt proud of about yourself in 6 months? Right. And I was like, oh yeah, there was that.
There was that one time.
There was that one time that lasted like 3 or 4 years, but whatever,
Yeah.
It never happened.
Right.
It's funny, it happens at different stages for everyone, and has different time periods of longevity, and for some people it lasts 18 years without realizing it. And then I think that's what has a lot to do with empty nest syndrome. When your life is 100% wrapped around your identity as a mom, and then they leave the nest.
Yeah.
That's like very disruptive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big life change, big shift.
So neither of us are there. So we'll go back to what you do.
Yeah, I got a little bit for that one.
Right. I always, when he would turn 9, I was like, I'm halfway there. He's like, I'm never moving out. I'm like, you say that now.
Right.
So I'm curious how you use music inside what you do.
Yeah. It took me a while to kind of formulate how I wanted to use it because I am like an active performer, so I'm a vocalist, so I do that outside of this as well and just perform and write, do things like that and record. So it was like, how do I take that and how much I love it and for my whole life and put it into like a tangible thing that's going to be able to help one. So I've done it in two different ways. And the first way is through vocal coaching. I've always taught private lessons. And then I took some time off. And you know what? I think it's time back into this, but not doing it the way that I had in the past. I had said, oh, I only want to work with who are doing this professionally and to people who are doing it at their career or to it into college. And that's great. And that served that time in my life. But now would literally teach anybody. Like you can't sing a note, great. Come on, like let's just give it a try because it's whether it comes out great or not, who cares? It doesn't matter because that's not why you're here. That's not the goal. That's not what you're trying to do at this point. If you're taking a lesson, some people want to do it because I have a specific student who has anxiety and so they feel like their voice gets trapped in their throat. So it's been really interesting that we found ways physically through voice lessons to help get that out of her system and to help her actually use her voice, not only in singing, but like in her life. So there's, different purposes for it, different ways that you can use it. So that's one of the ways. And then the other way as well is I've recorded, well, actually when I was pregnant, I recorded my first lullaby album. So for my daughter. So that's available to stream and everything. And after I put it out, I figured, oh, this is a nice little project to put together. This is cool, whatever. And then people started messaging me saying, this is how I'm connecting with my child at night. This is how, we're listening to this in the car and we're singing along, or this reminds me of my grandmother or whatever. So it kind of just hit the nail on the head where it was like, oh, well, this works too, and this is like another way to do it. So between both of those aspects and creating online courses that kind of help you do it yourself, or whether you're just listening to the music or whether you're taking a voice lesson, that's kind of how I've chosen to incorporate it. And it's constantly changing. I feel like I'm constantly doing something different with it, which is very exciting. And it kind of keeps me on my toes.
Oh, for sure. That when the monotony of every day being the same is for the birds.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And that's so cool. I recently told this story on an earlier episode of the podcast that my son was singing to himself in the car one day, and I didn't know he was singing because he was doing it so softly, and I was like, are you like talking to yourself? Like, what are you doing? And he was self-soothing because the connection on his phone made it look like he had lost all of his progress on his video game. And he was very, very upset about that. And he was singing to himself as this self-soothing. And that was the second time that I had experienced him doing that. The first time he was in the hospital, we were waiting to find out if he had an appendicitis. He did not. But he was singing a song to himself. And, something about, I just need a little luck right now. And I recorded that one because he said I could.
Yeah.
And the other time I probably wasn't going to get away with recording him because he was mad. But I found that video the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cute.
That's so awesome.
That stemmed from when he was a baby, and I lived 45 minutes away from where my office was. And he would come with me to and from work. He would stay, I would either I had a direct sales business, and I would either hold him during my appointments, or when he got to the point where he was a little wigglier or a little noisier, then I hired a babysitter to be in the other room.
Sure.
And but he would cry sometimes on those trips, and there was nothing that I could do to get him to stop. And so I would just sing songs that I had made up for him
Oh yeah, absolutely.
to soothe him. And I was like, I
Yeah.
had no idea that that would
Mm,
manifest at 10 years old in his
yeah,
self-soothing.
that is so cool. Yeah,
And I mean,
it's such a powerful tool.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
We
he
were
had a
just
little,
in the car. We were just in the car the other day, and like she was just losing it, like just, and well, she's getting teeth, so she's losing it all the time. But she was just losing her mind, and it is so weird. And I don't know if it's because it's my daughter and this is how she reacts to it because she's my daughter, but we put the album on and within 5 seconds, I mean, stopped completely. And that's happened every single time that we've done that. And it's like, I don't I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if
yeah,
it's just because it's just me or if it's just anything. So we were started trying it with other music and other songs that I had sang, and it's this, she does the same thing. So I mean, she just knows. It's really cool.
I would for sure say that part of it, it's you. And then it's also that's what you've been using consistently
Right.
in her life to calm her down. And, one of my baby shower gifts was a monkey. I used to call it the singing monkey because
Mhm.
it played a classical music song, it played white noise, and then it would, do the monkey sound of ooh ah, ah. My best impression of a monkey right now.
Pretty good.
Uh, the classical music, I could almost hear it in my head. And for a long time, the white noise was disturbing to him.
Yeah.
The He would turn the laughing monkey part on when he'd wake up. He would
Okay.
sound the buttons.
Oh.
But that music, I called it the magic monkey because it would put him to sleep.
Yeah.
And what I'm reading in this book that I can't remember the name of, but it's during um it's a book to read during pregnancy, and it has
Mm.
a lot of tips and tricks and tools. And one of the tools that it says is to play music that's calming to you
Yeah.
twice a week for 30 minutes. And
Okay.
when you do that music during your labor, then your labor will be more calm.
Oh, interesting.
And postpartum, it'll
Yeah.
calm the baby down.
Yeah. I believe
And
that.
I believe it 100%. And I'm a surrogate, and the mom of these babies is a she's a teacher for children with autism, but she also writes music. And
Oh, wow.
so
Okay.
she's recorded some music for me to play for them. And
That's
yeah,
special.
it's
Wow.
gonna be really interesting to see how they
Yes.
react to it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm gonna
Outside.
need an update on that one.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, now I'm thinking I need you two to connect.
Yes. I would love that. That would be great.
um, yeah. So, is there a piece of advice that you want to share with moms?
Yeah, I would say the biggest piece of advice and the biggest thing that's kind of helped me is to, and I know it's going to sound very cliche, but to find your support system and just hold on to them. I mean, I'm very, and I have the best family in the world and I have the best friends in the world. So really just like clinging on to them had really gotten me through that. And, now through this new business venture and, working and trying to balance both lifestyles and family and fun and gigs and all that stuff, just leaning on them and just knowing that they're there 100% of the time is the best thing for me. So that would be my piece of advice. Just find your people.
And quite literally, if you are a new mom,
Mm.
I want you to re-listen to that
Yeah.
advice 30, 40 times
Yeah.
until it sinks in. I've been kind of thinking about this because it's only cliche, and I'm using air quotes because
Mhm.
it's important.
Mhm.
And people aren't doing it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so I've been thinking about this concept of community and because I had done a post about, having your support system.
Mhm.
There's a book that I haven't finished that I mentioned quite a lot on the podcast called Hunt, Gather, Parent. And I always look to the left because it's right there,
Over there.
right there, waiting for me to pick it back up again. But it just talks about how Western civilization is so different than other places in the world and how we raise our children and how we
Yes.
do it inside like mom, dad, and kids. And
Yep.
that's the community, and that's not enough.
Yeah. Yep. It's not enough. You need that outside help, you know,
Yeah.
that outside support, that outside sanity to say, is this okay? Or am I doing this right? Or she's not sleeping. Is yours sleeping? What are we doing? Like, so it's just nice to have somebody to bounce that off of every day.
And I really have started wondering if it's more introverted people that are doing this than extroverted people.
Mm-hmm. That's
Because
a good question. Yeah.
like I it's not something I struggled with. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I have my community, I have my friends. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I had one friend that I always referred to as my friend who knows everything because she was the person that I went to with all of my questions. Her kids were like 6 and 8 years older than my son, so she'd been doing it a while, and her advice really always resonated with me. And I'm not a rabbit hole Googler. I'd
Mm.
rather talk to a person than
Yes. Yeah.
Google.
Yeah. My
And
a very good friend of mine told me to put a timer on my
mm,
phone for like, you have 15 minutes to Google what you need to Google, whether it's a recipe or something, but something not baby related. And or pregnancy related.
yeah,
And it worked. It was great. It was like, yep, that's exactly. And then it would pop up and say, no, 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 you can't look anymore. And I was like, well, okay. So
yeah.
it was a nice little tool to have.
I have a friend that gave birth on the 13th of this month, and
Oh wow.
and literally all hell broke loose postpartum. Like they
Oh,
immediately took the baby, and then her husband collapsed and tested positive for COVID. And so she's been
oh gosh.
isolated from both of him and her son. That's currently, what day is today? The 18th. So 5 days old. And
Oh,
just, baby's fine for the most part. They're talking about him coming home. So that's a relief. But like the amount of stress and chaos that happened in the first 48 hours of her son's life for her. I like, if I could have reached through the phone to slap her and say, hey, you need to just relax, like breathe and be present, because if you're thinking about all the things that could go wrong right now, you know, you're going to go crazy, because you also
yeah.
have like, she's that kind of person anyway, but then you also have hormones on top of that,
Oh yeah. Those are no joke.
you know. And,
Yeah.
and I would have lovingly reached through the phone and slapping her, like that would
Yeah.
have come from love,
Right.
not um we have the relationship where she would thank me for it afterwards.
Sure. Everybody's got that one.
Exactly. But just, after what I've seen from her in the last couple of days is that she's recognizing the support that she does have.
That's
And
awesome.
I think if I'd talked to her 2 weeks ago, she
Mm,
would have had a different story. And so
sure.
sometimes
Yeah.
we do have the support in our life. We're just not recognizing it or
Yeah.
utilizing
Yeah.
because we
And
don't
that's
know how.
easy to do sometimes. Yeah. Very important.
We could do a whole episode on community, and I think I've done multiple, but the support
There
system,
can never be enough, honestly.
you really can't hear it enough. Like
No,
if you're not
you have to
doing
pound it into your head. Yeah.
yeah.
And even when you
Lovingly
are
slap
doing
you.
it, yeah, exactly. Even when you are doing it, you still have to hear it over and over again to remind yourself. So
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, even I'm an extroverted person.
Mhm,
I love people, and
mhm.
that's why most of my podcasts have guests on them instead of just me
Yeah,
talking to a camera all by myself.
sure.
Like, I would much rather have a conversation with somebody and let all of my listeners eavesdrop on us than, sit here by myself. And during the pandemic, it still feels it created this environment or the situation where I'd kind of rather be at home than anywhere else.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
but I got used to Zoom and I like having these conversations. So I don't feel
Yeah,
alone even when I'm home alone.
exactly.
So, and now I have two dogs. Uh and we just got the second dog on Saturday. So
Oh my gosh.
this
Wow, that's
morning,
exciting.
one of my friends said, okay, let's see, you've got two dogs, two boys, being my boyfriend and my son,
Mm.
two babies. And I'm like, wow, there's lots of twos in my life right now.
Yeah. All right.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Is there a book that's been instrumental in your personal development journey?
Yes, it's called Get Out of Your Head. It's by Jennie Allen. Um, it's fantastic. It really unlocked a lot of things about trying to just like getting yourself out of thought spirals and, going down those rabbit holes and how to reach out for support and why you might be thinking the way that you're thinking. And it's really, really fascinating and really, really helpful, and a very quick read. So it's like, you're looking for answers. They're like right there. It's not like you have to keep going and sifting through. It's like, okay, this is the information. It's laid out very simple for you. And it's nice to just kind of digest that and have that to think about and kind of use it in your journey, no matter where you are. I feel like there's something for everybody in that one. It's highly recommended. So.
And is your Google timer a suggestion from the book? That's from your friend.
No, that was actually from a very good friend of mine. Yeah, I mean, it probably should be in that book. It should be in every book. I think everybody should have a Google timer.
Luckily, like Google's like, unless my son's asking me a question
Mm,
that I don't know the answer to, but I know Google does,
mm,
I don't really search Google for
yeah,
things. And when I do, it doesn't send me down a rabbit hole typically.
mm,
But I
that's
think I
good.
just hate research. And it to me that just feels like research, and it's like,
Yeah,
this,
don't
did this one
bother.
give me the answer I want? Yes, cool, I'm done.
You're right. I love that. That's awesome.
um Get out of your head. Get out of your head, is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's called Get Out of Your Head. It's by Jennie Allen.
And I think that's just good advice in general, because
Mhm.
that thought spiral typically leads to nothing good.
Oh no. Yeah, no, nothing ever good comes out of it. So it's good. It's got some very helpful things to like actionable steps to help you stop. It's easy when someone's like, well, don't do that. Okay. Well, how am I supposed to do that? So that's why I'm reading this book. So it's got some really like tangible, actionable things that you can do to kind of help you and just things that you can use in just other aspects and little exercises and thought things. And it's very cool. So yeah, it's a good read.
That's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
like my son has been asking me how I shift my mood.
Mm,
And
big question.
right, like I
Oh,
couldn't give him an answer. It's like, I don't know, my mood, I just shift my mood. Except one of the answers was take a break, because I take a break And one of the things that I was taught inside my direct sales business is if you've been sitting in a spot and you're in a bad mood, move out of that spot. Like there can be energy in the spot. And I didn't believe that when I heard it 10 years ago, but it's literally what I do now. I remember being mad at my boyfriend once, and we were in a motorhome and we were driving from where he made me mad to someplace else. And I mean, it was like maybe a 15-minute drive, but then once we parked, I still couldn't get out of the motorhome. And I felt so trapped. Like I couldn't get out of the emotion because I couldn't get out of the space. It was so interesting in hindsight, not at the moment. It was irritating at that time. But like I went for a walk and I felt like I'd been walking for 2 hours, and my watch goes, you've been walking 10 minutes. I'm like, oh Lord. So I turned around and walked back. But so I kept telling him to take a break, and he didn't want to take a break. He just wants to not be mad. And it wasn't until I got the puppy, and the puppy's 10 months old. So I kind of expected her to not act like a puppy at 10 months old.
Yeah.
Silly me. And I woke up to a mess 2 mornings in a row. Her first 2 mornings being here, woke up to a mess. And the first time I was like, whatever, that's puppies pee and poop in the house. Like that's what they do. The next day she got into my cross stitch, and that's a mortal sin. As far as I'm concerned, I didn't care. She destroyed a pair of my shoes. She, what else did she do? She tore up some trash. Like it was just a huge mess. She pooped on the carpet. I didn't care about any of the stuff, but she could have almost damaged my cross stitch. Like she didn't even damage the cross stitch. She just could have almost done it.
Could have almost is enough for me.
Could have almost. That was way too close. And I was so mad. And then I thought, well, she doesn't know what she's allowed to chew on.
Right.
And so I got to teach her what she's allowed to chew on. That's my job. And it was through that experience that I was like, oh, that's how you shift your mood. You change your thought.
Yeah. Sometimes you really got to think about it. I mean, that's a big question, especially how old is he? 10? I mean, that's big. Wow.
He's wise beyond his years. I think he was an old soul to begin with. And then, I'm a very deep person. And so as soon as he started understanding me when I talk, like now he gets all of my stuff. Like he gets all of my thoughts. He tests out my content before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I talk to Sophie all day long and she has no idea what I'm saying, but I'll say, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? When we shop, I'll hold it up. Do you like this one or this one? And whichever one she spits on is the one that I don't get. So yeah.
I love that so much. When I was in direct sales, I have a video of my son. Oh my gosh. And so it's a cosmetic company. And so I had a huge box of inventory, and he'd pick something up and he goes, what's this? And I'd say lipstick. And he goes, lipstick? Okay, I'll get some. And then he'll pick something up. What's this? Foundation. Oh, foundation? Okay, I'll get some.
The best.
It's my favorite video. Like every time it pops up in my memories, it's like the best ever. Especially since he doesn't quite say it right, but
right. Too cute.
Especially when I said foundation primer and he goes, foundation primer? Okay, I'll get some.
That's the best.
Oh my gosh. It only like 9 months is super cute. It gets better and better. And you're just going to love every minute of it. Maybe not every minute, but you'll love most of the minutes.
Most of the minutes, minus teething minutes. but it's even though it's only 9 months, I feel like she has this little personality, and it's like, it's just so fun. Like, it's so fun, and add something new every day. We're waving at everything now. That's all she does, is just wave all day long. Trees, people, cars, just pavement, all of it. It just all the time. So it's so fun.
Does it break your heart when people don't wave back at her? It always broke my heart when they wouldn't wave back.
No,
Like,
I'm like, she's waving at you.
What are you doing? Like, wave back. So if you're listening and a baby waves at you, wave back.
Wave back. That's all they want. Actually, it's all the mom wants, is for you to wave back at them.
I don't think they care, or but it warms our hearts. So anyway.
It does. Yeah.
So funny.
It's awesome.
Well, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me on my website, which is katedel.com. You can find me on YouTube at Kate Del, me on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to music. You can get the children's book about our dog, who's not a puppy and not eating our cross stitch, unfortunately, which is great for us. So sorry about that. But that's on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble. You can get it from my website. So all over the place, Instagram, Facebook, we're there. So
awesome. I love it so much. Yeah. And I could talk to you for another 2 hours, but I just tried to upload a episode that was a little over an hour to YouTube, and it took me 3 days, and I had to delete it and repost it 3 or 4 times, because
you're speaking my language, so I understand. Yeah.
You guys don't understand the behind the scenes that happen to get the podcast episode out, like in the of technology, and how I had to restart my computer in order to get Kate to be able to hear me when it was totally fine 5 minutes earlier when I was talking to somebody else on Zoom. Like, it's just,
we got there.
Love technology.
Yeah, right. It's nice when it works.
Occasionally when it does, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to make our life easier, right?
Right. I think so.
And like, this is the first time I have a green screen, and with the green screen, my chair usually shows up in the camera, and it's not. This is the first time it hasn't shown up, and I'm like,
cool.
Technology, who knows?
The more you know.
Well, thank you again for being here and just filling me with joy. It was a joy to listen to you and talk to you.
This was so lovely. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll have another episode of Imperfect Momming next week, and until then, keep healing. Bye, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AlysiaLyons.com. That's ALYSIALYONS.com. See you next time.